Just wanted to say welcome. And I'm Gauri. I am the founder of the North Carolina South and East Asian Film Festival. So just wanted to find out more about you and your film. So I read about you. There was another person in my team who was supposed to join from India, but she was unable to connect. But she had done research on you, and she gave me some notes that you're a marine biologist, you're a founder of Ocean Health and Shark Conservation, you're a sailing captain, you're a filmmaker, and you have education in environmental health from Berkeley. You're also a teacher in marine protection policy and marine ecology. You're also Emmy Award winner for your documentary, Reef to Rainforest. So anyway, I just wanted you to just tell me about yourself. Like, how did this journey of your filmmaking start? And are your films only related to the ocean, the marine? Is like, what exactly, and how did all this start off? Why interest in ocean and why?
Well, that's a long story from the color of my hair. I'm a marine biologist. I grew up in California surfing and learned to love the ocean at an early age, and was inspired by a teacher in junior high, what I loved. And so that's what I went into my undergraduate and graduate work in marine biology and environmental health, actually environmental toxicology in the ocean. I've always been a photographer and a storyteller. I love to write, but I don't really consider myself a filmmaker. I'm an advocate. I founded Shark Stewards in 2006 when I was on an expedition across the South Pacific. And we were documenting coral reefs in French Polynesia. And that's when we discovered shark finning. So this was before Shark Water came out, before Wild Aid put out some of their very powerful PSAs. There really wasn't very unified action or voices for sharks. So I went back to work. I'd taken a sabbatical at Berkeley, and I worked at UC Berkeley after my graduate work. And then we went back with cameras and documented this, but also had scientists that were documenting the health of the coral reefs and how they correlated with the presence or absence of sharks. So we saw sharks that had been dismembered on the bottoms, but we also dove with sharks. And I was pretty smitten with some of these reefs that were so diverse, so healthy, and had so many large predators. But on the antithesis, the opposite side, reefs that looked dead, did not have big fish and were absence of sharks. So we made our first film called Shark Stewards of the Reef. I quit my job at Berkeley, founded Shark Stewards, and used that film in film festivals. We actually translated it into 5 languages, screened it in China. It talked about the importance of sharks to the ocean's health, this new threat of shark finning and overfishing sharks, and largely driven by the economic increase in Asia and China in particular, and the demand for the ancient luxury shark fin soup. So we talked about shark fin soup and the shark fin trade in this film, and used the film to advocate for shark protection, including a law that we introduced and passed with our assemblyman to ban the sale and trade of shark fin in California. So I founded Shark Stewards to advocate, to educate, and to influence minds and policy to protect sharks and really the health of our ocean. Because when it comes down to it, really, I'm a person about health, and we rely on the ocean for all of our health. And when you have sharks, you know the system is healthy. So you shouldn't be afraid. If you see a shark, you should be afraid when you don't see one.
Okay. So what is your typical day like? What do you do on a daily basis? So are you filming, or what exactly is your normal day?
Well, that's what's a typical day like? Like everyone else is right now doing this during COVID. I am a teacher, but we're teaching remotely. We do a lot of education events in California, particularly in the Bay Area. We call them Sharktoberfest, and we celebrate sharks and do community education, because that's when our great white sharks return from a big migration to our sanctuary. So we do a lot of education, but like everybody else, I'm on the computer all the time. I was on a shoot this weekend I mentor students. I've been focusing on Chinese students actually,
Okay.
and trying to produce messages in Chinese to affect the most influential population on the planet when it comes to wildlife. They have the most money, they have the most people, and they're consuming the most wildlife. And so I see that it really comes down to education, but really about love. I was inspired by Jacques Cousteau a long time ago. People are aware of how special these animals are in nature. They will be less inclined to eat them.
Okay.
So I've made several films, going back to your first question, 6 or 7. You know, I've got hundreds of shorts on, we have a Shark Stewards YouTube channel. But I like to encourage youth to make films. So I do quite a bit of screen time now with students, trying to mentor them and really to help them share our message, which is that the ocean needs sharks and big fish and that they're disappearing. So a lot of emails, you know, a certain amount of social media. You know, we're active on all of our social media. We're a big volunteer network, Shark Stewards is. We're actually part of a greater organization called the Earth Island Institute in Berkeley, right across from campus where I worked and went to school. And Earth Island Institute has environmental projects globally, which includes several environmental projects, other ocean projects like dolphins, but also human rights, racial justice, a whole diversity. So it's our mothership that gives us a bigger reach to penetrate more minds around the world, as does the internet. So, you know, a lot of my time is pretty much like everybody else's, but it's interspersed with excitement. So there's an old adage about sailing, is that it's 90% boredom injected with 10% sheer fright and terror. Or excitement. So that my life is about 90% boredom, and then I have that 10%, maybe not terror, but excitement. So I scuba dive actively. I film underwater. I look for sharks. We have an active program in our marine protected areas here in California. And so I'm still quite active. I get out in the water every 3 or 4 days, or 3 or 4 days a week if I can, every day if I really can.
Okay.
So right now we're planning an expedition to get out there full time for at least a month or more, COVID permitting.
Wow. So, so tell me about this film. So when you filmed this, so how many hours were you underwater, and like, what was the crew like? How many people? And just a little bit about filming in water.
Yeah, I mean, this film, like a lot of films, it kind of came out organically. It started with a young woman, Alice Zhou, that Chinese Canadian, reached out and wanted to volunteer. And I said, well, I teach a class in Borneo every year on tropical ecology, and with the University of San Francisco. I said, why don't you come out at the end of the class, which is the ocean part? And I'd been invited to visit Malaysia and Borneo almost 10 years ago now to help with shark conservation. So we started working with local activists and dive operators and conservationists to form a shark protection association, because Malaysia was number 3. It's probably number 2 in the shark fin trade now. And it's also in the Coral Triangle, which has the highest marine biodiversity, some of the best diving in the world, and some of the areas that still have a lot of beautiful sharks, particularly Sipadan Island, which is a protected area.
Okay. So
Alice came out to a colleague of mine's laboratory conservation center called Pom Pom Island, and he's founded a nonprofit called TRAC, which is a Tropical Restoration and Conservation Center. And so Alice came out, and TRAC uses young people and their energy and enthusiasm to restore coral, to learn about fish, to remove plastic from the beaches, to learn about environmental issues, and then hopefully leave the island and take that knowledge elsewhere and expand that movement. So Dr. Steve Oakley, who is a colleague of mine, who's unfortunately passed, and I helped found this, develop it, he founded it with his daughter Hazel. And it's still going, and students can still go. And you essentially sleep in a tent under a tarp and it rains hard every night, but you're steps away from a coral sand beach and you get to learn how to dive and learn marine biology. So that's what Alice did. Being a filmmaker, I wanted to see the transformation from a girl's point of view. And she was a girl then. She's a young woman, but she was really girlish. And she transformed into a woman. And I've known her, and she's now, I'm a family friend, and I love them, and I love her. And she's in Stanford now, so I'm very proud of her.
Excellent.
But she didn't know what she wanted to do. So she learned how to scuba dive, and the film tells this. I mean, this happened in real life. She learned how to scuba dive, and she saw a shark for the first time. And we also went to the market, the fish market, and saw sharks and shark fins. And we saw plastic on the beach. We saw all the issues facing youth today. And I think, I hope the film inspired her, and it's definitely inspired me, and it feeds me. And I love the voice of youth and the inspiration, and also the positivity that youth have.
Yes.
So we use the film, and when I lecture in our film festival in San Francisco, we premiered it, the International Ocean Film Festival in San Francisco, that I helped put on. 4 days of ocean films every year, now online. We just had it virtually. With a lot of conversations like this with filmmakers and other environmental or storytellers. So I'm really proud of Alice. And I think, you know, if I can make a difference one kid at a time, I'll leave a mark for the future. So I have several students, and I really have been focusing on young people who are born in China, who are learning our culture, learning English, and learning about the ocean, the language of the ocean, and trying to connect back to China, because there's a lot of hate right now in the world. There's a lot of negative language, particularly coming from our administration.
Yes.
We need that. That's not going to solve problems. We need to communicate, we need to connect, we need to work together.
Absolutely, because I've had some people ask me, why is this festival not only called South Asian? Why is it South and East? I was like, well, you know, that is the goal, to bring people together and not focus on what's going on, how political it can get. It's about how we need to connect, and we need the people all over the world. We need to bring them together instead of, okay, I should call it South Asian, not East Asian. So I see what you're saying. I know where you're going with this. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So how many films have you made so far? And what was your first one? Is that the one that won the award, Emmy Award, or how many films have you?
I don't know. You know, I contributed to a lot. I produced 3 of my own, directed and produced. So, you know, I found out after Shark Stewards of the Reef, my mom reminded me that I made a film in high school about skateboarding. I completely forgot it, but I just contributed as a cameraman. So I continued to be a still photographer, and I've done some work for National Geographic and some other magazines as a still photographer and writer. But I really picked up a camera about in 2001 when we were on that voyage. And I still do a lot of, I love video now. I do both, but I prefer video. It's just a lot more work in the production and the posting. So, you know, Shark Stewards of the Reef was the first film that I was an associate producer. Really, I wrote it. It was my idea, and it was produced by Trillium Films with some friends of mine who actually were on the boat. So that was a production film of a team of 3. And then we had an editor. And that's the beauty of digital media, that you can make these films with small crews. I grew up in Los Angeles near Hollywood, and in high school I worked for one of the big studios and was offered a job, and they're like, why are you going to go to marine biology school? You'll never make as much money as you can here, which is true. But I said, I don't want to be a filmmaker. I want to be a marine biologist, which is kind of ironic. But here I am making films for less money than receiving less money than I would being a marine biologist. But the Emmy film was a broadcast Emmy with the California Academy of Sciences, and it was with a pretty big team, not of filmmakers. There were just 2 of us, but it was traveling around with the California Academy of Sciences and the Museum of natural history in the Philippines, where there's a strong relationship. I'm a research associate at the California Academy of Sciences. So I'm both a diver looking for sharks and new species. And so we were on this expedition in 2009 and with 30 scientists that were going in the jungle, going up trees, looking under rocks, and scuba diving, and also on a ship. We discovered 300 new species, including one species of shark in the deep sea, but on land we saw almost no sharks, almost completely overfished. So we told this natural history series, and it was produced by a local television station, in a series of news stories and some live from the field. And then we did a feature-length film called Reefs to Rainforest. And it was a really great experience. And that was interesting working with broadcast television, because it's a whole different way to make films and tell stories. But mostly I was the guy behind the camera. Mm-hmm. And then I've done other films that they're all in the ocean to act.
Yeah, that's what I was like. All of them are related to the ocean.
I did a film in 2006 with Patagonia called, sorry?
No.
I did a film called 180 South.
Mm-hmm.
With Patagonia, and we sailed down to Patagonia and met Yvon Chouinard, the founder, who climbed up and explored with Doug Tompkins, and we ended up getting dismasted between the Galapagos and Rapa Nui, Easter Island. So again, I was like the underwater and the behind the camera, but I got in front of the camera and we got dismasted because I was also the captain of the boat. Mm-hmm. So a lot of these productions we do are very, very low budget. You do more than one thing, as most small filmmakers do. You have many roles. You know, you do sound, you do camera, you do the post late at night, downloading all your cards, and then getting ready to do it again the next day.
Exactly. So what tips do you want to provide to viewers on how to protect the ocean health? Anything else related to sharks? And what message overall, what do you want to say about how do we protect the ocean?
Well, I truly believe that the future lies in the kids' hands. And unfortunately, the kids are getting a bad deal. I mean, we kind of got it. It was happening as I was growing up. And the environmental movement started when I was young. And it's very active, and it's grown. And we need kids to feed that flame or build that wave. Mm-hmm. I do work with Southeast Asians as well. And it's funny, I met this young woman in Sri Lanka who's 8. And somehow the power of the internet, she found something that we produced. And her mother sent me a picture, and her whole bedroom was covered with sharks that she'd drawn. Mm-hmm. And we sent her some stickers and shirts, and we were supposed to go for CITES, the Convention of International Trade of Endangered Species, to protect sharks. And she was going to be there tabling and with her friends. Unfortunately, there was some violence, and it got moved to Geneva. But kids, I just got another one. Kids, a young person saw this as related, Shark Week sends out a lot of negative energy and negative stories about sharks, but it also gets kids searching on the internet. And a 4-year-old sold $10 worth of lemonade and donated it to us. And another girl, 8 years old, wrote this thing about shark finning, and I sent her a t-shirt. And so inspiring those kids who are already like kind of get that first spark and you're nurturing that. So there's a lot kids can do today, and there's a lot on our website, sharkstewards.org, that kids of all ages, including our age, my age, can do to save sharks and the health of the ocean.
Right. So what are your thoughts about, like, because with the pandemic, people are saying because we messed with the nature, there's so many theories on that, and that's one of the reasons this pandemic is around. How do you think this pandemic in any way affects the ocean health, or is anything to do with the environment? Of course, obviously with the plastic and all. So do you think that could have created, what do you think? Any relation between the pandemic and the ocean?
Absolutely. Well, no matter what we do, the 8 billion people is affecting the health of the planet and the ocean. We get half of our oxygen or more from the ocean every second breath. As you said, there's been a huge increase in hundreds of thousands, if not millions of tons of plastic from sanitation wear, the gloves. We do beach cleanups with kids. And we're not doing them now, we're doing them independently, but we're seeing more masks and poaching going on in marine protected areas, not only out on the high seas and the remote areas like off of Mexico or the Galapagos, where there are 300 ships that are out there fishing sharks and tuna going into the marine protected area as well. But all over the world, but even here in California, where we have good enforcement and a lot of eyes and ears, people are unaware of the law, are going into our no-take reserves, which are really the last bastion, the hope, the citadels for fish to keep them from getting fished out, and they're getting poached on. So we need education urgently, but also I think we need to get out there and expose it. So what we are doing, Shark Stewards, with a colleague of ours, we're going on an expedition next month to go document this. It'll be on social media, be on our webpage, as well as our YouTube channel, just documenting these illegal fishers and telling the story and exposing the boat numbers, the boat names, and the companies that are buying fish from these poachers, because this is a result of COVID, because eyes are elsewhere. The enforcement officers aren't going out as often. Maybe they're sick, maybe they're have more priorities elsewhere. It is an indicator. COVID is an indicator. It's not related to the ocean per se, but it is a symptom of our messing around with the balance of the food chain, of animals that don't belong together interacting and cross-transmitting these zoonotic diseases. I am a health professional, and I've seen this in other instances. And we get diseases. So they don't affect the animals, but they affect us. So trying to educate, again, going back to Southeast Asia, but the wildlife trade, which is global, not eating wildlife. Don't eat sun bears, don't eat pangolins, don't eat dogs and cats. I mean, there's some animals that we just leave them in nature, respect them, enjoy them, and the ocean or nature, the jungle will take care of itself. It will be more balanced, and we'll have less of a sick ecosystem, and humans will be healthier in turn.
What is your next film?
We're going to do a film on this adventure. We'll be sailing from San Francisco to some of the remote protected islands off Mexico, Cocos, Galapagos. We want to head off through the Panama Canal and visit some islands in the
but do you have any other questions for me? It's really an honor to be speaking with you with all your experience and expertise, and it's really an honor to speak with you. Do you have any questions for me? And I just wanted to thank you for your time, but also just wanted to see if you had any other message to give, as well as any questions for me.
No, thank you. It's great to have the film shown. It's kind of done its festival run. I think this is the last one. And I don't know how long you keep your other films up. I mean, I want people to see it at this point, and ideally, if the website's at the end where people can come back and learn more and join us or volunteer or sign a petition.
So you have.
So I could even do a little post, because I mean, even now, it's so hard being a kid. I feel so sorry for these students. And she's actually in quarantine right now. She took a semester off, luckily, and got to go sailing on a research trip. Okay. And now she's just stuck in her dorm room. It's not going to have any interaction. And it's tough.
Yeah, it is tough.
I worry about these youth, they're still developing. There's a lot of mental health issues associated with COVID or being alone. And so I think, bringing this to them hopefully will help and inspire them, because I'm inspired by young people like Alice.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we'll set up a, okay, thank you. Right, tell me about the festival a little bit. How long has it been going?
How long? This is our 6th year, but our festival is only for 2 days, 12th and the 13th, because a lot of people are not okay with online. They're not okay with the virtual film festival. A lot of people, we had 13 films initially, but now we're down to 7. So we don't have people responding to, they're not very comfortable with the idea of opening it up, but some people want a password on it, and which I can understand because some of the movies are new. But we've
Right.
been in for 6 years. We've been doing this this is our 6th year.
But you actually do a festival in a theater.
Actually in a theater. This was supposed to be in May. So then we thought like everything is going to open up, though I didn't think so. I thought it'll at least take 2 years. So we went into October with the theater, and then it didn't seem like it. And I felt like I don't want to put people in this health, issue. Something happens, and with the COVID, we don't know what's happening. So we decided to just go virtual, just go ahead and go virtual. So.
What city are you in?
I live in Lewisburg, but this film was going to happen in Cary, but now it's for online for everyone nationwide.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. We decided early on, fortunately, because it was, debatable. It's like, because we were going to have ours in, our festival's usually in March or April. So it's going to be the end of March. Mm-hmm. So when this was happening, it was very imminent. We had no information, clearly not from our administration, getting clear information. And we're like, do we do it? And I mean, I have to hand it to our executive director, Ana Blanco, and our board, because it's like, we're like, you sure? Like, it might go away in a month, how bad is it? And obviously, we would never San Francisco is very aggressive about lockdown. We locked down really early, so we have low amount of cases, but it's like we had like absolute curfews for a while, but there's very few illnesses, and people are really careful. But that festival wasn't going to happen, so we pulled it off. It was just a couple of weeks ago, and we had enough time to plan to get some of these panels with 3 or 4 people with the filmmaker and talking about the film, and the revenue was okay. It wasn't like it would have been with the theater, that's for sure. And of course it's always more fun to see it with other people and on the big screen. So hopefully next year.
Yeah, hopefully next year. We could just pray for it.
Yeah. Well, thank you for selecting our film and for the interview, and good luck to you with the festival.
Thank you so much. Good luck with all your work, and we'll be in touch. And I will, it's an honor. It's an honor to learn about this, because it's a totally different topic that I don't know much about. So I'm very excited. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks.